Hi, I'm Stephanie Laska. I lost 140 pounds and created Dirty Lazy Keto. Thanks for joining me here on the YouTube channel. Be sure to subscribe and enjoy the show. So guys, if you are wanting to make low-carb desserts or even some low-carb savory keto desserts, I know first you need to stock your kitchen with some helpful keto baking ingredients, right? You need a list of helpful keto baking ingredients. You need to know what to buy and what not to buy. As you guys know, I lost 140 pounds by making sure that I had the right helpful keto ingredients for baking on hand in my pantry, in my kitchen. That way, when a craving hit, I was sure to be able to make what I needed and go there and be able to have the right stuff, because I wanted to be able to make that keto dessert or that low carb homemade treat. So here's my before and after picture, just as a fun reminder. I'm trying to bring out more and more of those as I get less scared. But I think it's helpful for everyone to see that this does really work and to see the proof and go, okay, yeah, this is a real deal. And one of the most important messages I want to get across today on our topic about helpful keto baking ingredients is I really want to assure you and to reassure you that wanting or craving some of these yummy things, it's normal and it's acceptable, and no one should shame you. No one should look down on you, and you shouldn't feel bad about yourself, because I was still able to lose that weight by having these helpful keto baking ingredients on hand and being able to learn what to do with them quickly. That way, when a craving hit, I was prepared, and I want that for you as well. And I shared this in Women's World magazine, which I know a lot of you got this issue. But Dirty Lazy Keto really works because it's so flexible. And it's real life. These are real women. These are real success stories. And, you know, there I am, very tiny in the corner. But really, it is the easiest keto ever because it allows for real life and allows for you to use these fun, helpful keto baking ingredients to make recipes that are simple, right? So let me know if I'm on the right track here. Let me know if this topic is helpful to you. Let me know if you're interested in this by giving the video a thumbs up real quick. That way I know you're there. Are you alive? Because I love it when you get engaged and participate. I think it makes the conversation a lot more meaningful. That way it's not just me going blah, 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 blah. So I want to teach you today, I want to teach you what helpful keto baking ingredients you actually need to stock your kitchen. And I want to explain why. And of course, I'm going to do a ton of show and tell. I have 3 buckets to share with you today. Are you excited? Well, there's 4 sections I broke this up into. The first section, I'm going to talk about flour, okay, and some of our Instamatic options. So I know that it's enticing when you're at like the grocery store and you might go down like the keto aisle. I don't know if your department has one, but you might have a low carb aisle or a specialty section. I know, right? Not really at my store, but I can dream. But sometimes you might see, you know, Instamatic products like this one. It's by Laska. It's a pancake and waffle mix, and it's all done for you. So yes, this is, you know, the flour that's needed for baking, but then you can just be lazy and just add, you know, water or an egg or whatever. It's kind of reminiscent of the olden days when we would use things like Bisquick. Did you guys remember that one? And there's other options too. I mean, it's not just Laska. There's a lot of options out there. There's mug cakes that you can buy. There's also products like COOKBOOKS, which, you know, it takes a lot of the guesswork out of it for you. And it's, you know, not cheap. You have to pay a pretty penny for some of these items, but it is convenient. Bob's Red Mill is another brand that I really trust. And this is a low carb baking mix. So there's a lot of different options out there, right? So yes, you can, you know, stock your pantry with these and other products like by Duncan Hines makes some cake mixes, or Duncan Hines makes like a mug cake mix, and so do a lot of other companies. So don't be embarrassed if you want to have some of those pre-made options and just call it a day. That's fine too. You don't have to be all fancy and Betty Crocker-ish. You can just be you. I like to have a variety of choices. That way I'm prepared no matter what. As I've shared with a lot of you guys, when you saw my video, it was about how to make my ready or not cornbread. It was from the No Time to Cook cookbook. And I did a whole video and taught everyone how to do this. And I can show you where that is on YouTube. But I made this delicious cornbread that tastes just like the real thing. You cannot tell the difference at all. I actually made this for Princeton University when I was being interviewed there, and they were all like, because they were not really keto people, and they're all, this is amazing. I'm like, I know. Who knew? So there is a way that you can make a lot of recipes that taste just like the real thing and easy from scratch, quote unquote. I do a lot of shortcuts, don't get me wrong. But first, if you're, just starting out, or not even just starting out, you're just a veteran and you're like, maybe I'll start stocking up my pantry with some of these helpful keto baking ingredients. Of course, you're going to probably start with the almond flour. And I have this in a Ziploc because I don't want it to spill all over. But this I buy at Costco. I feel like Kirkland brand has a good value for the price. And it's also the lowest carb of almond flour available. It's the super fine, whatever that is, super fine almond flour blanched. And it is the lowest carb and a good price. So I do encourage you to check that out. There are a lot of competitors on the market. I mentioned Bob's Red Mill earlier. I really trust them. I like their products. And they also have, this is a superfine natural almond flour from whole almonds, both very low in carb. So there's options out there. Buy the one that works for you that's available at your store. You don't have to buy them all, just one that you like. Now, what if, I know there's somebody out there who's like, I don't like almond flour. Okay, well, there's other options too. I keep all my flours, I decant them, and I use these fun little guys I got at TJ Maxx, but it keeps them airtight. And this is my coconut flour, and I actually buy this. I think I got this one at the 99-cent only store, right? So the stuff doesn't have to cost a lot. Yes, you are going to need some kind of a flour. Now, I get it. If you can't have coconut flour or you can't have almond flour, you do you. You know what you can have and what you can't, what you can tolerate. You'll have to see, what do you normally use? And then maybe start getting creative from there. Of course, you're going to want to have fresh baking powder on hand and salt. Make sure your baking powder is not expired. I know like salt, you don't ever think about that, it doesn't matter. But things like baking powder, it really does affect the leavenness or the leaviness or the rise of some of the keto products or low carb baking recipes. So make sure you're up to date. I mean, there are other alternatives out there, and I think there's more coming to market. Here's an example of lupin flour, keto friendly by Anthony's. So there's new choices out there. If you're not tolerating one of the others, don't just stop there. Keep researching until you can find one that's going to work for you. Okay? Right? Because, life's too short. You can't just give up so quickly. I do want to point out, it's not just sweets that we're talking about today. Yes, I want to talk about the sweets because we all love the sweets. One of my favorites is this brown bag blueberry muffins. If you have the Dirt Cheap cookbook, it's on page 67. It's a huge crowd pleaser. I know, look at how amazing that is. Are you not in love with those? They look and taste just like the real thing. And these are actually made in the pressure cooker, which is crazy, right? I know. How do you do that? But it can be done. I'll tell you, and I'll teach you how. I know, right? It's just amazing what you can do. 25 minutes in the Instant Pot. Who knew? So make sure you check that recipe out if you have a copy of the Dirt Cheap cookbook. So let me know in the comments if I'm tracking right now. Tell me, are you a sweet or a savory person? What do you like better? Do you like the sweets? Or do you like the savory? I think that kind of helps me know where to go in terms of getting products ready and videos ready to help you with. I know the sweets are popular, but we can't forget about the rest of it. There's more. There's more to life than just the sweets. So I want to transition over to the sugars. And here's the thing, guys. If you stay to the end, I'm going to link up a video where you can watch my personal pumpkin pie recipe. It's to die for. So yeah, you're going to want to hang on for that. And also, I know I'm going to throw a lot of ingredients at you. I'm pulling them out here in my bucket. But don't worry, at the end of the video, I'll also show you where to find a written version of all of these ingredients that I'm talking about. So stay tuned. A lot of people in Dirty Lazy Keto love the Lakanto monk fruit, or monk fruit by any company, really. A lot of people are just like it because it's zero net carbs and they find it to be well tolerated. So if that's you, then go for it. Now, not everybody's going to have the same experience, right? Some people like different brands. Swerve is another option for you that's really popular at the supermarket. And what's fun about Swerve and all the companies really is they have brown sugar as well. So they have, you know, the white sugar, fake sugar that you can use in your baking. And they also have brown sugar. They even have powdered sugar. So there's a lot of different things out there that you can use to, and liquid, don't forget about that. That way you can use to make your, you know, make sure your low carb ingredients for your kitchen are all stocked. You want to have lots of choices, right? You don't have to buy all these, but I like to know what's available. And it's not just the monk fruit that's available. A lot of you guys are in love with allulose. Now, allulose is not a sugar alcohol. So if you're having trouble digesting sugar alcohols or you're having like those side effects that some people have, give allulose a try. This is all-purpose in the raw allulose. And it's a little confusing because when you calculate your net carbs, it's not going to come out 0, but it is 0. It's a big, long loophole that I have another whole video about, but just trust me, allulose, 0 net carbs. It's just a weird loophole from the FDA about what is considered to be a carbohydrate and what's not. Some of you are in love with stevia or another product. I mean, tell me which one you like. And you know what? It's okay to cheat on your favorite sugar-free sweetener. Don't feel like you have to only do one or the other. You might feel like, well, that one's kind of pricey. I don't want to risk that recipe. Maybe if you're trying a recipe for the first time, you could use something less expensive. And then the next time you make it, you know, improve to the other one that you really like. It's okay to do that. Sometimes I mix the two, like if I'm, you know, running out of one and I got some more of the other. But also I keep taste in mind. Like for some people, stevia, it might have like a cooling sensation. We're all different on how we experience our sugar-free sweeteners. And baking and cooking things and heating things also can affect the taste. So be aware of that. And don't be afraid to try out the house brand of your local store. This is from my local grocery store. It's the 0-calorie sweetener sucralose, otherwise known as Splenda, which is pretty cheap. But keep in mind that with Splenda or sucralose products, once you go beyond the 1 teaspoon serving, the net carbs do add up pretty quickly. It's not a 0 net carb sweetener cup for cup. And I know that's a little bit confusing. Believe me, I was really mad at them about that. And I explain more about that in this book here. If you have the Dirty Lazy Keto Get Started, there's a whole explanation behind sugar-free sweeteners and the Splenda for baking professionals. And I go on to all that. But just be aware that it has more than 0 net carbs. It's better than sugar though, right? So which one of those sweeteners is your favorite? Tell me in the comments. And tell us why. Maybe you have an argument that could help someone who's just starting to stock their ingredients for keto shopping. So tell people your opinion. Tell people what product you like. Tell us in the comments what brand you like. And if you know where to get a good price. That is one of my favorite tips. So share away, like comment away. I think it's really helpful as a keto community for all of us to communicate and share what we each think. Don't you think? It's not just me. I'm learning too. I'm always like, ooh, that's a good idea. So I do want to show you guys a couple more recipes that you can make if you have some of these books on hand. See, I might have moved it over when I was transitioning. Digging around in my cabinets here. Okay, so if you have a copy of the No Time to Cook cookbook, I'm going to be highlighting a couple of recipes in here. So be standing by. And if you have the 5-ingredient cookbook, I'm going to highlight a couple of recipes in here as well. So be ready. The next part of your baking ingredients to set up in your pantry, besides sugars, I'm going to need you to also be stocking up your fats, right? Because you need fat, you need flour, you need some sugar, and you'll also need some fats in order to do the right kind of baking, okay? So I didn't have an avocado per se to show, but I did have a little picture. And the reason why is I ate my last avocado for breakfast. But I know it's surprising to think about an avocado as a fat source when you're doing baking, for sure, right? But here's the thing, you can make delicious, for example, brownies, the avocado bolt brownie recipe. It's in the No Time to Cook cookbook. You will die. You will be like, are you serious? How can you even imagine there's avocado in there? So if you hate avocado and you don't trust me, make this recipe and then you'll be like, oh, girl, she was not lying. So think about avocado, especially when you're making a recipe, let's say that involves some chocolate in particular. Another fat source that might surprise you, because I think most of us just think about butter, right? When we're doing our baking, we're like, oh yeah, butter, I'm going to make, like for example, the birthday cake surprise, the cupcake recipe and the 5 ingredient. You're thinking about butter because that's, I think most of us coming up, back in our pre-keto days, we're used to making like fun cupcakes like this. But butter isn't the only way that you can build the fat source for your baking. So another one that's a little bit surprising, I think, is cream cheese. Like, did anyone think that one? Do you use cream cheese in your cooking? Is this a staple that you keep as an ingredient? I'd like to know. Put it in the comments if you do use avocado, if you use cream cheese, if you use butter, and tell us what brands too if you have any tips. But cream cheese is a great fat source for your baking. And I really like to make, one of my favorite recipes with cream cheese is this one here. This is in the 5 ingredient cookbook, and it's the chili cheesecake bars. They are so good. Whenever I make these, they're literally gone before they even cool. My husband and my kids will swoop in and take them all. It's so annoying. But cream cheese is the secret fat ingredient there to make this recipe. You're going to love it. That one's on page 178 if you have the 5 ingredient cookbook. I know, isn't this fun? I feel like we're, old friends having lunch and just sharing. But seriously though, these are fun ways for us to help each other and learn and share, because helpful keto baking ingredients, they can keep you on track, right? Like for example, cookies. I love cookies. I love, 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 love cookies, but I needed to figure out a way that I could still have a cookie once in a while, right? Like, especially like Chips Ahoy kind of a cookie. I needed to figure out a way I could do this without, sabotaging myself. So for me, I make a sugar-free version, a low-carb version, using all the ingredients that I'm talking about, and then I can stay on track and I feel more in control. You agree? I mean, here's the thing. I know it can be a little bit dangerous to have all these wonderful ingredients around. Would you agree? It can be a little dangerous because for me and a lot of folks listening, having all these low-carb, delicious desserts and savory treats around, they can maybe take us back to some of our old habits. They can be easy to overeat, right? I'm not lying. But in my opinion, the pros of having these ingredients around, the helpful keto baking ingredients on hand, I feel like the pros outweigh the cons in the big picture, okay? And what I mean by that is if you can make a recipe, yes, you're using a little bit of heavy whipping cream, you might be using coconut oil, or you might be using butter, cream cheese, sour cream. But the benefits of using these fat sources, and let's not forget about eggs. Eggs also have fat. But the benefits of making delicious treats, if you will, is that it's going to meet your craving, okay, in a good way. And it's going to address that whole FOMO situation, your fear of missing out, especially at the holidays, birthdays, big family celebrations. You might emotionally be feeling like, I don't want to miss out. Everyone else is having it. And furthermore, if you have these things on hand, I really do feel like you're going to be able to save money because you're not, trying to order stuff off the internet. And you're going to save time because you won't be like searching all over the world to meet your needs. You'll be able to make these things yourself. Now, I realize some of these habits, they take a while to transition. When I was losing the 140 pounds, I didn't go overnight like cold turkey. Like, oh, I can never have bread again. Never have a cupcake. Never have chocolate. I would never have been able to have survived and met my weight loss goal if I had just Just cut all that out. And I feel like that's why Dirty Lazy Keto gives you the flexibility and a little bit of wiggle room in order to make that happen. So, I mean, do you agree with that? Do you agree with the pros outweighing the cons? I'd like to know your thoughts, because it is a little risky. You have all these things on hand and it's easy to just start making cakes all day. Don't you know? It can be, but there are more than just the fat and the flour. There is more than just that. And we talked about the flours, we talked about the sugars, we talked about the fats. And of course, in addition to this laboratory you're building for your kitchen, you want to make sure you have the right flavors on hand. Like, for example, I mentioned at the end of the video, I was going to give you a link to how to make my favorite pumpkin pie recipe. They're like these little teeny tiny pumpkin pies that are they're very fancy and very easy to make. I have a whole video, I'll teach you how. But you have to have flavors on hand. So I make sure to have things like 100% pure pumpkin on hand in my cabinet. Easy shelf life. 100% pure, not the filling stuff. And yes, it does have, a little bit of net carbs in it, but by cutting back on the required amount the recipe calls for, or like a traditional pumpkin pie recipe calls for, you can do a little with a lot. Does that make sense? You really can. And don't be afraid of, the nuts. I think a lot of us, well, anyway, I did. When I was growing up, I was always told, oh, nuts, oh, they're so bad for you. They're so high in fat. I mean, was anyone else taught that? Or was it just me with the nuts? Were you guys taught that? My family was always like, oh, you can't have walnuts. They're just so high in fat. There's pecans, coconut. Oh, you're going to get, some kind of like cholesterol issues. I don't think so. Have a variety of nuts on hand, of low carb nuts on hand in your variety pack of your helpful keto baking ingredients. That way you can make these fun recipes. And they have a great shelf life. Now, don't forget about vanilla. I've learned my lesson trying to buy the cheap stuff. Get the good stuff. I think Costco is a really good price. Also, cinnamon. Invest in some cinnamon. Cinnamon. I bought this original cinnamon, and I have ideas about using a little shaver, but I've never done it. I'm so lazy. Who does that? I don't know. But someday, people. But in the meanwhile, just buy yourself a couple of these spices to have on hand. Don't forget about lemon. You can buy artificial lemon flavor or citrus fresh lemon juice or lime. Those are very low in carb and great for making like low carb cheesecake bars or a variety of different flavors. Now, who's been waiting for chocolate? Anyone? Do you guys like using chocolate in your low carb baking? I mean, I find that having 100% cocoa, this is unsweetened, pure cocoa, I find that having a variety of different types of cocoa on hand is really important for my helpful keto baking ingredients in my closet. So not just the powder, but I'm also going to ask myself to stock sugar-free chocolate chips, right? Because let's be real, we're going to make some recipes like I talked about, like the cheesecake bars that were in the 5-ingredient cookbook. We're going to make some recipes that are going to need chocolate chips. So just buy a bag, put it in the back of the closet, in the pantry, and be ready. It doesn't have to be Lily's. It could be a variety of different brands. I also keep stock of the Walmart brand, which it's not the Walmart brand. It's the Hershey's brand, but I find them at Walmart. It's the only place I can find them. I know some people don't like these. They have maltitol, but sometimes I'm not using too many, and I don't want to use like the more expensive, right? Because like Chalk Zero or Lily's, they can be a little bit more pricey than the Hershey's brand. So I pick and choose when I use different chocolate chips. So have a variety on hand. I also like to have chocolate bars on hand for my chocolate ingredients. I consider this a staple. And I buy the high cocoa percentage, the highest you can find. And then what works really well is to crush it, chop it finely, or to use a peeler. And then you can do some pretty fantastic things. And it tastes yummy. I know, who knew? And Lind makes a good one. Also Ghirardelli. I buy both of those. But there's a lot of different choices, you guys. You can't just give up. You can't say to yourself, oh, I shouldn't have dessert. Why not? I really feel like you can. I feel like it's doable. You can still lose weight and enjoy a normal life, right? And be a normal person and still have some of these fun ingredients on hand to whip up delicious treats. And as promised, I told you guys I was going to let you know where to find a written list of all of the ingredients that we talked about today, plus more. And it is in the 5-ingredient cookbook on page 33 through 37. And the list goes on and on and on, and it describes it in detail about which ones you should buy, which ones you should keep at par level. Okay, so that's where to find the full list. If you want like an extraordinary list, like a 16-page grocery list with serving size and net carb count, you're going to want to check out your Get Started book. There's a whole 16-page section in here about ingredients. I know. So you gotta look for that. So don't forget, I told everybody at the end of the video, I'm going to provide that little link in the corner for the pumpkin pie, how to make the miniature pumpkin pies. So you can click on that next. And I just want to remind all of you that you can lose weight. You can on Dirty Lazy Keto while still enjoying these homemade treats. The helpful keto baking ingredients are just that. They're there to help you. They're not there to sabotage you. They're there to help you stay on track. So I know you can do this. Do you know you can do this? So I believe in you. I totally believe transformation is possible. I know you can lose the weight just like I did. So I'm here to help you guys. I'm here to support you. And I wish you all the luck in the world because I know you can do it. I'm here to help.